Let's have a chat about HBO Max's series Velma and why this show has tanked so hard with viewers. Hey guys, I'm Megan, this is the Fangirl, and I want to be clear up front that I have no love in my heart for the Scooby Doo franchise. I've seen tons of it, the live-action movies were fun enough, plus I so desperately wish I could go back to 2002 and get the Scooby Doo Blizzard that was like pistachio ice cream with nerds mixed in. Sounds awful, but it's delicious. But it's all the same stuff over and over again. In fact, I get so mentally bored with Scooby-Doo that I use it as a verb when describing movies. They're Scooby-Dooing it, which means we're being shown an obvious fake bad guy up front so that we don't notice the true bad guy lurking in the background. I even used it when describing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Like, clearly, Sirius Black can't be this bad of a guy, otherwise they wouldn't keep amping up how bad of a guy he has to be. So, being that I have no love in my heart for this IP, I'm the perfect person to talk objectively about Velma the series and why it doesn't work. Or at least, why it doesn't work so far. Now, if you've heard the whispers but haven't seen the show, Velma is essentially like the Harley Quinn series, except they've substituted in the Mystery Gang for Batman villains. And I love the Harley Quinn animated show, so I was excited to hear about a fresh facelift for Scooby Doo, but there are elements of the show that make it really difficult for me to watch. So I remember decades ago being a kid and going to watch the first Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie with my father, and he got so upset at who the bad guy was. I won't spoil it just in case you want to watch it, but we left that theater with my dad ranting that this was the guy they could always trust, he'd never turn on them, I can't stand this. And I think that's kind of what people are going through with Velma. Velma is now a teenage girl of Indian descent, and she is so smart that she alienates everyone around her, and she gets PTSD level hallucinations whenever she solves mysteries. Daphne has now become an Asian preppy girl, but with bright orange hair still, and it's not dyed because they make commentary on it being natural. Shaggy has morphed into an African American guy named Norville, and I was quite annoyed with that at first. Why make him dress like Shaggy if he's not even a stand-in for Shaggy? But, as it turns out, Norville is canonically Shaggy's real name. Who knew, right? So I will definitely give respect there for the lesser-known trivia pull. And then, finally, we have Fred as an emotionally crippled rich white boy who can't go into puberty. And he is somewhat a villainous character that's trying to become a better person. And it's just like, what are we even doing here with this show? It seems like every main character here is trying to simultaneously fall into their original tropes while being completely different at the same time. And it's a gamble that just isn't working for me so far. However, I actually like the show Velma. I think it's fun and fresh and cheeky. I would be fully supporting it right now if not for the fact that the series is not standing on its own 2 feet. Revamping old characters that have always stayed in a certain box just doesn't work. The fan base is too large, the characters are too well known, and unlike DC villains, there's not 1,000 different universes where we get endless character variants. And yes, I know that variance is now a term associated to the MCU, but calm down. It works well for this reference. If Velma were an original piece that spoofed Scooby Doo, call it, I don't know, Selma, and it were done in a similar vein as the Venture Brothers, where they live in the same world as Johnny Quest and other similar 60s shows, but it's a darker thing that is all its own at the same time. I think something in that ballpark where maybe we see or hear about the Mystery Gang, but they're trivial to the plot, would have made Velma an outstanding series. And that all really falls back into a big problem that the animation industry industry is facing right now. Networks are getting cheaper and cheaper, and nobody wants to put money into advertising original shows and building up a new fan base. They want to build up hype for resurrecting the Powerpuff Girls or Futurama over giving Infinity Train or Disenchantment a fair shot in the marketing department. And it's frustrating and sad because we as consumers are missing out on a lot of potentially great series while getting a lot of reboots that aren't any good. I mean, did you see the reboot? It was terrible and completely disconnected from what the original series was. Then look at things like She-Ra and the Princesses of Power being a reboot on Netflix, which is a good show. I love that series, but I felt so much more strongly and immersed in Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts, which all the episodes aired really quickly. It was kind of secretive. After the first season, nobody was really advertising it. And it's a shame because that show was so different and unique, and it promoted LGBT characters and characters of color, and it was such a different world. It was such a fun universe. And I felt like it got wadded up and thrown away way too quickly. That could have been years and years of something. But we got new She-Ra dolls and toys. We never got anything in the stores for Kipo that I ever noticed. And unfortunately, things like toy sales and merchandise sales help determine whether or not a cartoon series gets renewed. And so it really feels like that's what happened with Velma, that this was supposed to be a new, quirky concept of an animated show that just didn't sell. So instead, during the pitch meeting, the network was like, hey, we have Mindy here who is a solid name, and we really want to revive one of our IPs that are already successful. So hey Mindy, how about you pick out a title off this list and make a show out of that? Look, there's Scooby Doo ripe for the picking. And certainly we can't blame the writers and producers for wanting to eat and trying to make lemonade from their lemons, but this insistence to cling to people's branded childhoods is rarely making worthwhile content. I mean, after the initial excitement from the legacy fans, most of these shows fail to live up to their original nostalgia and die off sadly in a corner somewhere. Anybody remember Girl Meets World? And now we've just started that 90s show on Netflix. And of course, Velma is airing new episodes right now, so who's to say? Maybe Velma will turn out like WandaVision, where a lot of fans were confused and dissatisfied with the first 2 episodes, and then they got sucked into enjoying the series as things got more complicated. I believe as of me recording this, we currently have 6 episodes of Velma out, and I love the one challenging how girls are supposed to be versus valuing them for who they are. So the pretty hot girl can be the pretty hot girl. She still serves a purpose. I love that the show is challenging itself. So it's very possible that Velma could turn a similar corner where she finds a Great Dane named Scooby and the mystery gang all come together more akin to how they are in every other incarnation of the franchise. And if that were to happen, and then we saw a new version of Scooby Doo with this more jaded, modern, adultier tone, I think that would land a lot better than what we're being packaged and sold right now. So we'll see what happens. Again, with the exception of me not personally liking the Scooby Doo tie-in, I think this series is pretty good. And I am hopeful that the showrunners will take the notes from fans and try to bring things together in a more Scooby Doo-ish way. But if this ends up being a 1-season series that everyone pretends doesn't exist, hey, that won't be the first time that HBO has let that happen either. Game of Thrones, Rome, Generator Rex. Excuse me. However, I'm very curious. Despite the reviews and ratings, have you seen Velma personally, and what do you think of the series so far? Leave me a comment. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that? Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's
really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos, like you, helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members.